Welcome to Digging into the Future. We've got Russell Reynolds, and very, very excited to have a chat about what's going on in the search business, but also really looking at how you see the Asia Pacific region, the Middle East, sort of some of the more emerging markets around the world, and what that means for the search business going forward.
Yeah, so look, I think the Asia market and the Middle East market, we're seeing significant demand cycles for talent.
Yeah.
And that is because in many senses, leadership is faced with more complexities in the digital infrastructure markets than they've ever been,
Yeah.
right? On the one hand, we're looking at talent scarcity because demand has risen. We're also looking at them being bombarded at a C-level and the board with complexities like supply chain, right?
Yeah.
Power and access to power.
Yeah.
And of course, the big piece around where you find sort of AI talent going forward as you build these potentially huge campuses going forward. And within that context, that of course is a rising demand cycle for top talent, but also a rising cycle for governance and how you run these businesses. And certainly from an Asia and a Middle East perspective, it's all been about a level of investment that is coming both from private capital and from sovereign.
Yeah.
And within that concept, it's about higher aspirations for capability. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a pretty interesting time, right? It's, have you ever seen anything like what we went through in 2025 in terms of just expansion of these businesses? I mean, it must be, and I always used to say in Asia, the challenge is the guy that runs 100-person organization may be able to do a 1,000-person organization, but when you go to a 10,000-person organization, then
the scalability
of the individual, and trying to find that. Because now you've got this sector that's accelerating so fast. I mean, how do you look for those people? Because they're probably, if you're leading one of those businesses, you're probably not leaving those businesses either, right? So finding the new CEOs that can make these things happen must be very difficult.
I think we're seeing a period of unprecedented opportunity in the sector. So, I mean, the massive inflows of capital, obviously driving growth, and it's making execs in our industry place bets in a way that we're not seeing in other sectors. It's having an interesting effect, actually. We're seeing less CEO turnover in digital infrastructure and tech more broadly than we are in other industries. And I think it's precisely that. So in other sectors, you're seeing the pressures of some of the changes, the geopolitical situations, creating a need to change leadership. Whereas in our sector, the need to place those bets and make decisions around the allocation of capital is requiring people to keep leaders. So we're seeing CEO tenure increase in the sector, but more changes within the executive team.
Yep. No, it's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but that way, because we talk about the K-shaped economy as well, right? Which is the tech seems to be going this way, the rest of the world seems to be going this way, right? And it's I would imagine you probably on the downslope. There's probably a lot of work to be done there as well at the CEO level. Yeah. Yeah.
So we track CEO changes across sector, and across other sectors, it's up 16% across all of the major indices. In tech, it's halved. So we've gone from 40 CEOs changing to 20 across the major public indices in the last year.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, that is a very significant change. What do you see? I mean, the interesting thing is obviously with AI coming in, it is a new technology, right? It's sort of it's a confluence of we've always talked about convergence in our industry, but it is really convergence. You've got chipsets getting involved with networks, involved with software. If you look at these neo clouds, for example, you're running a combination of all these different types of sectors in one business. So it must be kind of interesting trying to find the right executive talent for these companies that never existed before, right? I mean, we're
looking for leaders increasingly that can work across those sectors, and so it's an understanding across industries that traditionally have been quite separate and quite siloed. A different type of leadership. There aren't people that have, or very few people that have experience across working across all of those dimensions. So it's looking increasingly around the way people think, work with their teams, partner with others, and some of the fundamentals of leadership. Again, how do you manage and lead a diverse team when you're bringing in input and perspectives from a range of people, much broader than you would have done perhaps 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, no, I think it is. It's probably got to be the most challenging time to find senior leaders in this space, because there aren't a lot of success stories, or if they are, they're not leaving, right? And it's and
it's at the time when the bets are ever larger. So you're deploying large amounts of capital at an incredible pace. So the risk is high.
Yeah.
So it creates a focus on, has this person done that before? And as you say, there are very few people that have.
Yeah.
And those that have are typically tied in with large equity stakes. So it's a very limited pool of experienced execs.
And what do you look for? Because obviously you when you're trying to hire a CEO and there haven't been a CEO before, what are kind of the attributes that you sort of kind of zero in on, right? Just as you start, because I mean it is going to be a challenge to try and figure that out, right?
Yeah. It's a great point, right? So I think there's both an internal and an external solution to this. So the internal solution is obviously how you grow, build, and develop that top talent. And so one of the big things that we're really focused on, I think, as a firm, but I think the industry as a large, is really about assessing capabilities that sit within organizations and how you can create development paths for those individuals to reach the C-suite. Because you don't want attrition in the business model. You can't afford to have it. On the other hand, there is external pressure and demand for pattern recognition. Who has been there and done it and built it before, and particularly when private capital is involved, and who can go and do it within the life cycle of the investment. So I'd say we are looking internationally now for top talent. Right, so we're starting to see individuals in the US being sought after to be in the Middle East to go and build really exciting businesses, and it's definitely happening as well from an Asia perspective, where the nuances of hyperscale relationships have been in very, very high demand and short supply. Right, so that has completely changed the way we're thinking about talent, I think, and the seniority of it. It's also come with a real increase in the way that people are compensated. We've seen significant movements in equity compensation over the last couple of years as well in the Asia market, and we're certainly seeing it in the Middle East now as well. And then I think you've got nuances in different markets across Asia. Whereas I think originally the China market was clearly the place where the huge amount of business was being done. That, should we say, arbitrage for geopolitical reasons has now moved towards a significant demand cycle for markets like Japan. And we're just seeing the growth of the Japan market, and organizations are very interested in utilization of AI business cases. There's a huge opportunity to create productivity within that, and at the same time a huge opportunity for the digital infrastructure markets as they go through that. So we have seen the demand for sort of top Japanese executive talent reach unprecedented scale, I'd say. But also, again, this movement towards understanding at board level, what do you have? And so we're seeing a big demand cycle for board capability that is both around power and energy. We've seen a 20% increase in those appointments to private boards over the last year. And then in some of the public businesses, particularly those that are dealing with the US, we're seeing a huge increase as well. So big increase in regulatory and policy appointments on the public boards.
Well, I think I want to unpack one more thing on Asia before we turn off. But I think let's talk about China, right? So, like I've always said, China probably has the scale and size to lead the world. But will they ever bring diverse leadership into China? Do you ever see a chance where you're going to have that American leader or that Indian leader or that foreigner actually coming in and actually leading a Chinese business? And because I mean, you look at all these companies, it's very much like India has foreign leaders, and Indians actually go overseas. And if you look at our tech companies in America, a lot of them are run by Indians today, right? But you don't see any of that diversity happening in China. Do you see that changing over the next few decades, or do you think it becomes even more insular over time?
That's a good question, Bill. Look, I think that the inevitable change in China thinking in a different way across the globe has definitely created a real understanding of international management within Chinese leadership. What we have not seen over the last few years in the tech scene, and this is probably the most sensitive domain, is international management going in, right? In other sectors, it absolutely exists. So it'll be very interesting to see how that evolves. Because as you say, there's no doubt that some of the internal power of the Chinese market is very, very important.
Thanks for joining us on Digging into the Future, and look forward to hearing your insights as we continue forward on this journey over the next couple of years. So thank you very much for joining us.